cleaning up the leftovers. I have destroyed my 11-year marriage by having a 10-month affair with a co-worker. It was mostly emotional for me, however the OM was never in love with me. We had a lot in common. I am about to quit my job. My husband and I are going to marriage counseling. We are reading books and talking about our needs. That's why I'm here to talk about my situation and hopefully learn something about myself and how to help my husband heal. He is distraught night and day, and who can blame him? I have hurt him deeply. How do I help him trust me again? How do I begin to love him again? Actually, my husband found out I was having an affair, so I had to stop seeing him. I fell out of love with him a long time ago. What about all the times I stayed with him even though he didn't have a job? Or didn't want to do things with us as a family? Or didn't want to talk about how bad things were when I brought it up? As soon as he found out, it's like he all of a sudden wanted me around. I'm not looking for criticism. I'm looking for how to be in love with my husband again. My kids are too young and I never plan on telling them. Comments: if you want to fall in love with your husband again, start by doing acts of love. And mean it, from the heart. Respect him, honor him, find out about what he likes, wants, and do these things. Speak about his strengths, admire him, even if you don't feel it. I'm sure there is a ton of things you can admire him for, except that maybe right now it may take some time to find them because of your feelings. However, remember, love is not a feeling but action. Before you know it, you will be in love again. Love must be cultivated for it to grow. And no critical comments. No matter what he does, you must see him differently because you are now a different woman. At least your hubby is with you. For this you should be grateful, and this shows that he as a man does really love you, is willing to stick with you through the worst, and it can't get worse than this. OP responds: I don't feel any remorse or regret for what I did. I don't know why. I guess because I'm still in love with the OM even though I know we could never be together. I feel trapped. He's not a good person other than I am extremely attracted to him physically, which has never happened to me before. I'm so fogged up I can't see out. After you have kids, your whole life changes. It's hard to find time for us to be together. He did his thing and I did mine. We hardly spent any time together, and before you know it, your roommate's lying awake in bed wondering what the hell happened to your love life. Somebody paid me a little attention and off I went and didn't look back, even though we have 2 small children and have been married for 11 years. It's all about chemicals and blah blah blah. The fog is over and I just feel sad. What I did was unacceptable in every way. It will be a long time until he can trust me to even go to the grocery store. I have to apologize every time I sit on the floor in the foyer to put my shoes on because it's a trigger for him. Am I going to have to do this for the rest of my life? I've gotten rid of all the triggers, I think. At least the ones I'm aware of anyway. Surely there are more that he doesn't tell me about. Every time he gets depressed, affection seems to be the only solution. Most of the time it works, sometimes it doesn't. But at least I'm trying. It just seems to me like he expects things to progress much quicker than they are. We didn't fall out of love overnight. And we're not going to fall back in love overnight. But I want to make it better than it was. There was obviously something missing before: passion, emotional closeness. The baby is my husband's. D-Day was 3 months ago. I feel like I've gone through withdrawal and now I'm in a constant state of depression. I know what I did was wrong and I don't deserve to be here. But I can't just leave him and the kids. I have quit my job and am now a stay-at-home mom. My H knows everything about the affair, who, what, when, how, and why. I've come clean with everything. We do go to MC together. Would I have to go in addition to MC? Since I'm not working, I have no money. It really sucks being dependent on him for money. My comment: holy smokes, both of them have a problem. The H accepts this toxic behavior, and she is just using him as a plan B and a wallet. Do not follow this couple. Story 2. My wife and I have been married for almost 7 years and together for 11. Looking back, I can genuinely say that this relationship has been rocky from the beginning. Although being 22 and insecure at the time we got together, I didn't really see it. I continued to be quite insecure until I hit 30, more on what changed later on. Our relationship was long distance from the beginning until a few months before we got married, but we saw each other at least every other month. Usually, I would fly out to see her, and although she was an adult, she never once flew out to see me. Another red flag, I guess. While we lived long distance, our relationship was okay. We didn't fight too often, but we also didn't really talk about much either. When we'd see each other, things were also okay. Not great though. I'd stay at her parents' house with her and they wouldn't let us share the same room. No big deal. It's their house, so their rules. The thing that bothered me was that on the few occasions that I'd rent a hotel room near her, she wouldn't spend the night with me. She'd have to run home. Keep in mind, she was between the ages of 22 to 26. We never have, and still don't, have much in common. I prefer doing outdoor activities, reading, and going out to pubs once in a while. She prefers staying at home, watching TV and shopping. I used to go shopping with her and watch TV with her quite often. She rarely indulged me in partaking in any of the activities I enjoyed. When I tried to get her to think up of activities we could do together, her only response was, "I don't know." So here were my options. If I wanted to spend time with her, I'd have to stay home and watch TV or go shopping, and if I wanted to engage in something I enjoyed, I'd have to do it by myself. Even though I saw all these red flags, I stayed with her. As I said, I was very insecure about myself. I don't have a great body, I'm short and average looking. I also graduated college with a degree I hated and began a career in a field I hated. I didn't have much self-worth back then, obviously. So, we got engaged and up pops another red flag. I flew out to surprise her, and when she asks what I'm doing there, this was surprise, not like what are you doing here. Her mom blurted out that I was there to propose. I was devastated. I had planned an entire evening for us and it was ruined by her mother. She asked if it was true and I just mumbled yes. I let her pick out the engagement ring but gave her a budget which she pretty much ignored. The rest of the day I was really upset about what had happened earlier with her mother. That night we didn't get any alone time because she told all her friends and they wanted to take us out, her mother in tow, of course. When we finally got some alone time, she asked why I was acting so down, so I told her I was upset about what her mother did. She told me that I should have stopped her, but honestly, who the hell expects someone to do that? I told her that I had been planning something really nice and that it was ruined and that I could never have that moment back. She told me I could still follow through with those plans. I told her I didn't want to because it wouldn't be the same. At this she got mad at me, not her mom. She got mad at me. Another red flag. We had a long engagement, 2 years, and it was fine. We had a medium-sized wedding and a nice honeymoon. Things were okay in our marriage for about the first 6 months, but then we just started butting heads all the time. I had no problem doing things for her, but she had many issues with doing things for me. When we got married, I told her that I only wanted a few things from her, affection and intimacy. After about 6 months, these went away and we just started fighting all the time. I felt like I couldn't do anything. I was stuck in a job I hated and in a marriage in which I was unhappy. I always thought marriage was a two-way street. You give to your partner and your partner gives to you. Apparently, I was wrong. Whenever I try to talk about my issues, my wife's only response was, "No, I don't do that. I'm sorry," or "Yeah, but you." Her "yeah, but you" were always very weak, and she'd bring up one thing I didn't do for her a month ago or whatever. Our bonding life before marriage was pretty good. She was a virgin and wanted to wait until she was married. In my book and with my hindsight, this was a huge red flag. We would fool around quite often whenever we were together, and at least a third of the time it was her initiating it. I got plenty of I reciprocated enthusiastically, and there wasn't one time that we were together when she didn't have at least one good time. She was an animal and seemed unquenchable. On our honeymoon, we had slept together maybe once every 2 days, another red flag, and she spent quite a bit of time on the phone with her mom. I didn't really mind. She'd never flown out of the country before, let alone traveled with someone other than her family. The rest of the honeymoon was okay. Our honeymoon was in Tahiti and I spent a lot of time snorkeling by myself because she can't swim and is afraid of the ocean. I can genuinely say that we never had a physical honeymoon. When we came back from our honeymoon, we settled into a routine of only weekend bonding, and it was only once a night. It always felt rushed. As soon as we were done, there was no cuddling. She'd run to the bathroom, clean herself up, put on her pajamas, and go to sleep. To this day, I've never had slept with her more than once in a day and only at night. We've never had slept together in the morning. We've never spent a weekend in bed going at it like rabbits. Not only were we non-physical, but there was also zero affection from her. I'd try to hug her and she would just stand there. I tried kissing her and it was not returned. I helped around the house. Nothing. I don't buy the more help from guys equals more bonding, and my wife is why. I became a jerk and cold towards her. I still to this day harbor so much resentment towards her. I finally brought up marriage counseling to her and her response was, "I'm not crazy." I thought her birth control pill had something to do with her change in libido, but she refused and still refuses to address this with a doctor. According to her, everything is okay. I've never asked, but she makes it quite obvious that she's okay with a non-physical marriage. Now, back to what happened when I was 30. So, I had been stuck in a really crappy job for about 4.5 years. One morning I just looked at myself in the mirror and realized that I was miserable with the path my life was taking. I couldn't work 50 to 60 hours per week the rest of my life. Medicine had always been my one true love, and after much thought I decided to go back to school and pursue a career in nursing. I talked this over with my wife, who surprisingly was very supportive. I spent the next 6 months saving up enough money for us to live on and supplement her income while I was in school. I quit my job in August and went back to school that September. I began nursing school 2 years later and am graduating this May with honors. You don't know how incredibly empowering it feels to take control of your life after feeling like you wasted it for so many years. I was so happy. My wife was happy too, but nothing changed on the physical or affection front. I was still given the cold shoulder whenever I tried. I thought things would change because I would see her more often, but things got worse. She became more critical of me and complained more. Even when I got a part-time job, making more than she does and affording us benefits, things didn't change. I tried talking to her about it and her only response has been, "You've changed since you quit your job." She doesn't elaborate, no matter how hard I try to get her to, so I'm left with the assumption that this isn't the real reason. Finally, a year and a half ago I'd had enough. While on vacation in Hawaii, I took her for a long hike and explained to her exactly how I feel. How angry, disappointed, and resentful I feel. How I feel like I wasted so much time being in a relationship with someone who obviously doesn't care about me, how I feel, or my needs at all. She didn't have much to say, tried blaming me for everything, but when pressed couldn't come up with anything I'd done that would have made our relationship this way. She apologized and said she would change. She has never once in our marriage ever initiated bonding. Things did change. When we got back home, we had slept together about once a week, but it was still the vanilla starfish variety. I told her I wanted to bring some excitement into the bedroom and try out some toys or anything like that. She would have none of it. Bonding for her was satisfying the way it was. I was left unsatisfied more often than not. I would get fulfilled, but it was just boring. After about 6 months of this, things again started to slow down. Back to once every 2 weeks, once a month, once every 2 months. I talked to her about it and she kept promising things would change. They never did. Whenever I'd try to initiate it or take her to the bedroom with me, I'd get one of 3 responses. No, not tonight, but we can tomorrow, or are you kidding me? Tomorrow never came. Whenever tomorrow came, she would come to bed late, or if I was still away, she'd say, "Oh, I forgot. You wanted to sleep together." The "are you kidding me" sliced me like a razor blade, and it was often said while watching some TV show. So there you have it. TV is more important than me. About a year ago, I emailed her a letter detailing how I felt, what I needed from her, and what would happen if things didn't change. I'd leave when nursing school was done. I gave her a lot of time to think about it and decide what she wanted to do. I left the ball in her court. She skimmed the letter, and I don't think she's ever fully read it because things haven't changed. I occasionally reminded her that I felt hollow inside, but it fell on deaf ears. This past September, I decided that I'm done. I pretty much checked out of my marriage. She finally decided that she wanted to work on things and wanted to sleep with me. We've had it once since then, in October. It did not feel the same. It felt like a chore for me. I did not get any pleasure or intimacy out of it. I think this solidified even more in my mind that I was done with the marriage. She knows things are over, but now is when she decides to want to work on them. I have no desire to fix this anymore. After 6 long years of marriage and trying to fix things, I have nothing left to give anymore. I am hollow inside and full of resentment towards her. Sometimes I think about living the rest of my life with her and I just can't breathe. I married her because I love her. I wanted to spend my life with her, making love often and having fun together. I wanted her to be the mother of my children. All I ever asked for in return was to be wanted. This isn't something that I think is difficult. If you love someone, shouldn't you want them? Not once in our marriage did she ever initiate bonding, affection, or physical contact. I feel like I've been taken for a bait and switch. I feel like I have no one to blame by myself. If I hadn't been so insecure, I never would have married her. I would have been okay being single until I found someone who truly loves me and wants me. I'm thrilled to be graduating and starting my career soon. I love nursing and medicine. It's what I was meant to do. It gives me great joy. I can't wait until I start my career. I'll be doing what I'm called to do in life. I also can't wait because I'll finally be able to divorce her. Right now, I don't have the time or financial capability of doing it. I'm very sad that this is how things turned out. I'm going at it alone. My family is very Catholic and will not accept my divorce. I'm not willing to tell them about the issues in my marriage because it's very emasculating and embarrassing. The only person I've told is my brother. He's supportive at least, but we've never been very close. I just wish I could build a time machine and go back to the moment I met her and just keep going on with my life. I think I would have been much happier than I am now. I cry myself to sleep quite often. I'm incredibly lonely. Counseling will be sought when I have the time to go this summer. My self-worth is shot again. If my wife doesn't want me, who would? I am divorcing her once nursing school is done. I'm too young to live like this the rest of my life. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not here for advice. If you want to give it, feel free to. I just needed a place to vent my anger, frustration, and disappointment. I didn't make it very clear, but I work part-time and make a little more than she does, so she does not support me. I also get insurance through my job. Healthcare work is great, benefits at 20 hours per week. To address the first point, I will absolutely not make the divorce her fault. I'm still trying to come up with a way that does not make it seem like it's all her fault. She's very weak emotionally, so I know this will be devastating for her enough as it is already and don't want to put the full burden on her. To address your second point, my insecurities are internal. I tend not show them to others, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't know about it. Maybe she does, who knows. I tend to be confident, but not arrogantly so, and am very good at compartmentalizing everything in my life. But like I said, who knows if she picked up on them. After I went back to school and became much more secure with myself, she became even worse with me and started criticizing me more. So maybe she knew I was insecure and it didn't bother her, and now that I was secure it bothered her. Ugh, you gave me something to think about for my next relationship, a long way down the road from now. ETA, I do plan on pursuing counseling when school is done. I'm very introspective, and I think the reason for my insecurity in the beginning was being so young and choosing a career path that wasn't for me, finance. I should have gone towards medicine, and now I'm thrilled to be on that path. As for my insecurity now, I think it lies with being married to someone who has shown so little desire for me. Again, who knows? This is a cycle that goes on. I talk to her, she promises to change, changes for a little but then reverts back. I've tried and tried everything I can, she refuses counseling. At this point I have checked out completely and have made peace with the fact that we are just not compatible. I can't continue those cycles. In 33 and still young, I deserve to be with someone who treats me well, and she deserves someone who will show her how to love. Obviously that person wasn't me. Even if she was honest this time, I don't believe her. She has, many times in the past, promised to change. She changes for a short while, things to good in our marriage, then she goes back to her old ways and things go sour very quickly. This has happened quite a few times in our marriage, and quite a few of those were in the last year or year and a half. She has put in very little effort into our marriage and, as you said, she takes the vast majority of the burden for its failure. I put in quite a lot more into trying to make it work, and I'm not willing to put in any more. It is a sunk cost, and I will not spend the rest of my life in this type of dynamic. She's shown that she is incapable of changing permanently and doing any of the heavy lifting to fix things. I'll bear the burden of not ending the marriage sooner. It was gone years ago, I was just too blind to see it. I supported her for quite a while, and I still do. I make more than she does. She's on my health insurance. I take her where she needs to go if she doesn't want to drive alone, etc. That's what the stand-ins don't understand. If she wants to divorce me, she's more than capable of going downtown and filing herself. But as you said, this marriage is too convenient for her. She has a roof over her head. My parents own it. We live in it rent-free. We live a mile from her job. Her parents live about half an hour away. We are able to live semi-comfortably on the small amount we make. Before I went back to school, we used to travel. I've done quite a bit for her, and the little that I did need or ask for in return was met with grief. I also question those who say, "I wonder what your wife has to say about you." In my mind, these posters have the same mentality as my wife, and I too wonder what their spouse or ex-spouses have to say about them. I tend to wonder how they treat Ed, their spouse, ex-spouse, during the course of their marriage, and if the circumstances of their divorce or marital problems weren't because of how they treated their partner. What a lot of these people cannot fathom is that sometimes the demise of a marriage rests either almost fully or fully on one individual. As I stated in my original post in responses to others, I have tried everything possible to fix my marriage, and my wife refuses to accept there is a problem. In her mind, the marriage has no problems because most, if not all, of her needs were being met. She has never felt any need to make my needs important to her, no matter how small or easy to meet they are. This is not how a marriage works, and she is completely selfish. She believes that the bare minimum effort on her part is enough and that I should accept this. I will no longer accept anything that is less than what I need to make me happy in a marriage. I refuse to take any blame for the demise of my marriage other than I should have ended it years ago. At this point in time, when I decide to end it is entirely my prerogative. If I want to end it after nursing school because it is more convenient for me in a sense of having more time and money to shop around for a lawyer or mitigator, then that is entirely up to me. If she wants to serve me divorce papers sooner, so be it. But she won't. She has it too good being married to me, a roof over her head without having to pay any rent. My parents own the house we live in and have allowed us to live rent-free while I'm in school. Health insurance, I financially support her. I take care of all the bills, including reminding her when to pay hers, etc. Even though I have not told her of my plans to divorce her, there is no way that she can't see the writing on the wall. I am no longer affectionate with her. I no longer complain about her lack of physical, intellectual, or emotional intimacy. I no longer engage her in any discussion about the future or children. My interactions with her are short and simple. I am bettering myself for me, not for her. She hasn't really noticed, and if she has, she's too proud to say anything about it. Few months later. So, it's been a while since this post has had an activity, so I thought I'd update everyone. I filed for divorce about 2 months ago. My STBXW became completely intolerable. Once she figured out that I threw in the towel, she became more emotionally withdrawn and snapped at me all the time. After a week of this I had enough and one day just went down to the courthouse and filed for divorce. She was extremely shocked and started begging for me to give her one last chance. In essence, I told her that she'd had way too many chances. I've talked about our issues to death with her, and all it ended with are empty promises on her part. No matter how many times she told me she'd change forever, I told her I had no reason to trust her. I also told her that there's no way I'm spending the rest of my life with a woman who changed because I had to file divorce. I'm done. I stayed at my folks for a few days while her and her folks cleaned her stuff out of my house. We live in one of my parents' houses. I feel bad for my dog. She seems to really miss my STBXW. She hasn't asked much. I offered her $2,000 per month for half the length of the marriage when I find a nursing job, and she accepted. This doesn't bother me at all. She'll need it considering she makes barely $1,500 per month as a preschool teacher. Divorce should be finalized in a few more months. As for my STBXW, she seems genuinely sorry for how she treated me and how she destroyed the marriage. I feel sorry for her. She had so many chances and just ruined them. On my end, I'm feeling great. After one of the girls in my class found out that I was getting divorced, she asked me out on a date. I explained my situation to her honestly, and she understands what's going on in my life. I've been over my marriage for a long time, so I've gotten over it. I just want it to be done and over with now. This new girl is pretty great. She's the complete opposite of my wife, loves to laugh, loves to joke around, is pretty light-hearted, super intelligent, and she seems to genuinely like me. We're taking it slow and getting to know each other. Our dates are usually fun places. Nothing serious so far. We haven't done more than make out, which is fine with me. I want to get to know her better. I've learned a few important lessons from this marriage. 1. Never marry someone who wants to wait until marriage to sleep together. 2. Never marry someone who doesn't want to live with you before marriage. 3. Never marry someone who you don't share interest with or who isn't willing to try new things. 4. If you're a guy, look at how the mother treats the wife's father. If you're a gal, look at how the father treats the mother. In my case, my STBXW is the spitting image of her mother, browbeating and pecking, and treats her husband like he's just a paycheck and there to do her bidding. At least now things with this new girl are progressing quite well, albeit slowly, which is what I want at this point. We're just getting to know each other. She's pretty cool to hang out with. We've decided to be casual but exclusive for now, haven't gone past second base. STBXW saw us at the movie the other night. I got a slew of texts telling me what a jerk I am and I'm basically cheating on her. I'm not. As soon as those divorce papers were served, I was single. Whatever. If that helps her sleep at night, fine by me. She's not thrilled to be replaced by someone 10 years younger than herself. A bit later, I think STBXW has finally realized all the pain she caused me by neglecting me and making false promises. But it was too little too late for me when she did. She tried asking me to take her back but understood when I told her my reasons why I won't give her another chance. She had too many and blew them and made a lot of false promises. We are still waiting for the divorce to be finalized. Should be another month to month and a half. Other than that, STBXW has not have much contact with me. Her brother, who I am amicable with, would not say friendly, told me that they are moving back to the East Coast as soon as the divorce is finalized. Fine with me. Things with the new girl are progressing along nicely and there is definitely a connection there. We see each other a few times a week and she started sleeping over on weekends when neither of us has to work. A month later, as of September 19th, the divorce is finalized. My ex agreed to what I had offered her and that was that. She did try to make one final attempt to win me back but wasn't very emotional about it. She said she would agree to counseling and finally understood that she had neglected me for the majority of our marriage. She never apologized though. I reiterated to her that I was done and that I had begged and pleaded enough times in our marriage that it made it very clear that I was unhappy. We parted and that was that. Haven't heard from her since. My ex-brother-in-law texted me and told me she was going to be better off without me and that she met someone else already. I didn't respond. Things with my GF are still going along quite nicely. She spends a few nights per week at my place and since we are both nurses and only work 3 days per week, we have a lot of free time to spend together. We're currently in the process of planning a trip to Sweden in April or May. She knows how I feel about marriage now, not for me anymore, and she's on the same page for now. I'm glad to put the last sorry 10 years behind me and move forward with my life. Whether or not my girlfriend and I stay together long term, I'll be happy no matter what happens. Divorcing my wife was the right decision. A marriage without bonding isn't a marriage. People who believe that bonding isn't important in a marriage are insane. I'm happier now than I've been in the last 10 years and would be if I was single as well. I've been lucky enough to find a great girl who I have awesome chemistry with and who actually understands, respects, and appreciates me. My comment, in reality you changed and became more secure. She stagnated. The reason that she kept promising to change but failed to follow through could be because she still always felt she was settling on a plan B guy, even though rationally you had improved yourself.